Parts of the communion service we use are adapted from an ancient Eastern Orthodox communion service, and you may have noticed that in it are the words, "Let the liar be cast out." Now, lying, dishonesty, and deception used to be taken very seriously in Christianity, and today I thought it would be interesting to look at the theme of dishonesty and deceit in the Bible. I want to start with the book of Proverbs. These 6 things the Lord hates, yes, 7 are an abomination to him: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren. Out of those 7, most of them have to do with dishonesty and deceit. The book of Proverbs goes on to say, dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord. He who speaks truth declares righteousness, but a false witness deceit. The truthful lip shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of those who devise evil. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. A dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates friends. An evildoer gives heed to false lips. A liar listens eagerly to a spiteful tongue. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a club, a sword, and a sharp arrow. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a bad tooth and a foot out of joint. All those come from the book of Proverbs. Obviously, the book of Proverbs considers dishonesty and deceit to be bad. Other places in the Bible say the same thing. We heard one of those from the Old Testament book of Jeremiah for our Old Testament reading. From the New Testament, from 1 Peter, we hear this: whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. The book of Ephesians says, therefore put away falsehood and let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor. And if you go on in the New Testament to the book of Colossians, it says, do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds. Dishonesty is condemned throughout the entire Bible. In fact, the contrast between truth and falsehood is a central theme that runs throughout the entire Bible, and in it God is associated with truth, and Satan, evil, is associated with lie and deceit. The Psalms refer to God as the God of truth. The book of Isaiah refers to God as the God of truth. The New Testament books of Titus and Hebrew tell us that God cannot lie. The book of 1 John refers to God as him who is true. The Gospel of John says that God is true. And this is contrasted with Satan. For our Gospel reading, we heard in the Gospel of John how Jesus called Satan a liar and the father of lies. If you go through the Bible and look at the things Satan is associated with, you'll see that he's associated with deception, falseness, shrewdness, seduction, secrecy, misleading, disguises, impostor, schemes, snares, craftiness, darkness, secrecy, behind the scenes, manipulating. Those are all things that the Bible talks about the way Satan works. In fact, the fundamental way the Bible contrasts God and Satan is by using the opposing categories of truth and falsehood, honesty and deceit. It's safe to say that the basic quality we should cultivate within ourselves if we want to be like God is honesty. Honesty should be at the very top of our list. So what does it mean to be honest? As used in the Bible, it means a lot more than just telling the truth when you're asked a question. Dishonesty is not just telling a lie. If someone asks you, did you go to a bar last night? You say no when you were there at 2 o'clock. Dishonesty is also shrewdness. That means being sly and being crafty at getting what you want. Dishonesty includes scheming. That means making secret plans over here to get things to work out a certain way. It includes achieving your aims using indirect methods, through operating behind the scenes when no one knows what's going on. And we need to stop and think about something. All these methods that the Bible condemns are not condemned only when you're using them to do evil. They are condemned in and of themselves. In and of themselves, they are seen as being wrong. You cannot use them even for good intentions. So dishonesty is not just telling a lie. It also means doing things in secret, operating behind the scenes, cleverness at getting things to work out the way you want them to without others really knowing what you're doing. It includes having one scene presented for the public to view while what's really going on is hidden behind the scene. And it's not just doing these things for evil purposes, it's using them for any reason. Simply by their nature, they are wrong. You see, things like that is what the Bible criticizes when it criticizes deceit and deception. And so from what the Bible says about dishonesty, we can say that what dishonesty really is creating one image for the public to view when what's really going on is hidden behind the scenes. That's why the Bible associates dishonesty and deceit with darkness, you see. It's dark and people can't see what's going on. You've created this scene for people to see, while what's really going on is hidden that people can't see. It's dark. It's manipulated without anyone suspecting what's going on. It's craftiness and arranging things to work out a certain way without anyone ever knowing what happened. That stuff is condemned in the Bible. It's not only condemned, it is presented in starkest contrast to God, because the Bible associates those things with evil, with Satan. But yet those things are endemic in our society. It is the way our society works at all levels. All the way from the level of national politics down to the level of local politics. It is the way business and industry work in this country. It is the way advertising works. It is the way public affairs work. It is the way personal relationships work. As an example, if you pay attention to the commercials on TV, you might have noticed that in the past few years or so, the actors in the commercials on TV are a lot different than they used to be. Race, family situations, gender roles, and gender identity. All that stuff is different in TV commercials than it was 15, 20 years ago. And you might just think that it is because TV advertisers are wanting to be hip and with the times, but there's more to it than that. I was in a waiting room a while back and was thumbing through a business magazine. And I came across an article that was from an interview with an advertising executive. And they were talking about that very issue, about how commercials have changed over the past 15, 20 years. And the reason this woman gave for the change has nothing to do with selling a product and nothing to do with trying to be with the times. She said the aim is to present these situations on TV over and over so that children will see them and think they are normal, so that children will get the idea that that's the way things are supposed to be. These advertisements are trying to impart values to children. People know that children watch a lot of TV, and they see these advertisements as a way of influencing children. Now, whatever you may think of the values these advertisements are trying to impart, whether you agree with them or not, it's evil. How do I know that? Because they are using sly, underhanded tactics, and they are trying to manipulate people. Anytime you see that, you know that's evil. Because you know God does not operate that way. God does not engage in deceit, in manipulation, and in underhanded tactics. Why do we use tactics like that? Why are they so popular though? Because they work. You see, from politics to business and industry to personal relationships to education to anything, tactics like that are an effective way of getting what you want. Psychologists and social scientists have done numerous studies and have found that the main reason people use tactics like that is because they work. They are effective. And as studies have been done on those things, a paradox has been found. People claim to place a high value on honesty and above-board dealings. When asked about the traits people look for in a politician, honesty ranks almost at the top. When asked about the traits people look for in a business, honesty ranks at the top. It is ranks above even the quality of that business's product. When asked what qualities people look for in a personal relationship, honesty ranks near the top. But look at the people who get elected to office. Look at the shenanigans businesses pull. Look at how easily people fall victim to manipulation and lies. And there's the paradox. You see, people claim to value honesty so much, but yet they do not choose honesty. When you look at who gets elected, when you look at which businesses succeed, when you look at the personal relationships that form, you see that the politicians that get elected, the businesses that succeed, and the personal relationships that form are the ones who are shady, sly, crafty, underhanded dealings, deception, and flat-out liars. People say they value honesty so highly, but their actions show that they gravitate towards people and toward individuals and companies that are anything but honest. A recent study showed that the most popular teenagers among their peers are those who have mastered the art of deception. And so the paradox is that people might claim to value honesty so highly, but they do not choose based on honesty. And that's why dishonesty is endemic to our society. Studies indicate that on average, people lie an average of 1 to 2 times every day. Studies also indicate that most people will cheat if they believe they can get by with it and not get caught. So why is it that people claim to value honesty so much, but yet we live in a society in which dishonesty is endemic? Why have people who claim to value honesty so much created a society where deceit is everywhere? It's because we are so adept at justifying dishonesty and deceit. We don't see it as being bad. We see it as justified. In general, we don't see the dishonesty and deceit that we're a part of, or that we participate in, or that we see being going on out there as being done out of bad motives. we see it as being done out of good motives. We have been taught that dishonesty and deceit are okay if they're used for good motives. They're only bad if they're used for wrong motives. They're not bad in and of themselves. They're just bad if you're trying to do something wrong with them. A while back, 6 people, including 2 children, were murdered in an unexplained shooting in Rock Hill, South Carolina. 2 of them were employees of a heating and air conditioning business between Cherville and Dallas. And 2 of them were young children. If that shooting could have been prevented using dishonesty, deception, shrewdness, and behind-the-scenes, underhanded dealing, would it have been okay to do it? Think about that for a minute. You could have prevented the deaths of 2 young children. Both of those men that got killed that were air conditioning repairmen had children. One of them was a single father. Just think of the ripple effects of those murders on down the road. All these children growing up without fathers. Parents losing both of their children. We wouldn't have been doing it out of evil motives. We would have been doing it to spare all that heartache, to save the lives of children and innocent people. If it took dishonesty, shrewdness, manipulating, and deceit to do it, wouldn't it be worth it? How could that be bad when you could have prevented such a tragedy? Let's go back to the advertising example we talked about earlier. If I truly believe that children should have the values I'm trying to impart in these commercials, if I truly believe the world would be a better place if children had the values that I'm trying to impart, is it bad for me to try to underhandedly slip them in under the table? Is it bad for me to manipulate and do it slyly? If I'm doing it for an altruistic reason, if I'm trying to make the world a better place, is it not okay? You see, what we've seen in both examples is justifying the use of dishonesty and deceit because we're using them to attain a good goal. If we use them to attain a good goal, how can they be bad? What's the harm? What's the harm? That very attitude is why deceit and deception, shrewdness, craftiness, manipulation, under the table dealings, and behind the scenes manipulating is endemic to our society. It's not that people are trying to do bad. People are genuinely trying to do good. They're trying to do good. You just think of the times in your life when you've used deceit or deception, or when you've told a lie. 99% of those times, did you do it trying to be evil? Or did you do it because you felt that, given the situation, that was the best thing at the moment? I bet you did it because you were trying to do good. You weren't trying to do evil. The same thing happens within Christianity. I know a Christian minister, actually a denominational official, who used deceit when interviewed for a newspaper article several years ago. I know another minister who flat out lied in a church governing board meeting. Flat out lied. I know another minister who used deception and fabrication in a financial situation. But you know what? Not a one of them did it for their personal gain. And not a one of them did it for selfish motives. Not a one of them did it trying to do evil. Each one of them was trying to do good. And they thought that this was the best thing given the situation and it would cause good down the road. They all did it for good intentions, intending good effects. There wasn't a single evil motive in there. And that's, you see, where evil is so insidious. I've said in here many times that evil does not appear evil. It never does. It always appears good. And that's a perfect example of that. Think about what happens when you flush the commode. The water begins swirling. And it gets faster, and it gets faster and faster and faster, and all of a sudden it goes down. That's what happens when we engage in deceit and dishonesty. What's the harm in dabbling in deceit and dishonesty? If it's for good motives, because it's like a commode flesh. It starts going around real slow at first. And then it gets faster and faster and faster. And before you know it, the commode flushes and you can't stop it. You're carried off down the drain. That's how it works. No matter how good your intentions, that's how it works. And God knows that's how it works. That's why God tells us so many times, don't dabble in dishonesty. Don't scheme. Don't manipulate. Don't deal in underhanded dealing. That's why the Bible drills it into us in so many different ways. And that's exactly why the devil loves it so much. He knows it's attractive. He knows that we'll look at it and say, well, hey, we can use this for good results. And we'll dabble in it. We'll see how good it works. See, we can use it for good motives. But he knows that eventually, once that commode starts swirling, once it gets a foot in the door, it's going to start swirling. It's going to swirl faster and faster and faster. And by the time we see the mistake and see that we're hopelessly trapped in this, the commode's going to flush. And we have a society built on deceit and deception. It will collapse on its own. And there will be nothing we can do about it. You see, that's what God tried to warn us against. And we didn't listen. The short-term results of using dishonesty and deception may look good. And I'm not denying that you may be able to use them this time and get good results. But over the long term, it will not work out. Think for a minute. Are you satisfied with the way the political system in this country works? Are you satisfied with the direction our society is going? Are you satisfied with the way business and industry work in this country? Are you satisfied with the way personal relationships work? Are you satisfied with the way institutional Christianity in this country works? In other words, what I'm asking is, has dishonesty and deception, slyness, craftiness, underhanded dealings worked out well for us? Has it created something we like? That's for you to answer. The state of affairs today is a living example that we cannot use deception and deceit to get good results. It is a living example that once you start dabbling with the tools of evil, even if you have good intentions, you'll get caught up in the whirlpool and be swept right down into the septic tank. You know, one of our responsibilities as a Christian is to become more like God in our personal lives. Christianity is not just about sitting down and saying, okay, God, here I am, bless me. Christianity is a two-way street. It involves us taking the initiative. And we have to take the initiative to pattern our lives the way God is. And the Bible tells us God is truth. And there is no lying God. He cannot lie. If we want to start patterning our lives after God, then honesty and above-board dealings is the first place we need to start.